Okay, Denise, you asked for it. You got it. Another chapter of Badditives. And this one is GMOs. And I know that Scott the truck driver did a whole bunch of stuff on the glyphosate, which is, excuse me, Monsanto's monster. And so if you really want to know about GMOs from here to Iwo Jima, feels like a bomb, you can certainly Google it and everything. And I just wanted to keep this simple because there was so much in this book about GMOs. This is what I can tell you. If you can't find something that's organic, at least try to find something that is non-GMO. Because all I can tell you, I mean, there's just a few things that I can tell you, and just that alone should be enough to have you go, no, thank you. No, thank you. Europe doesn't have GMOs in their products. And we know the valiant effort that California and the Institute for Technical, trying to think of it. I mean, if you start Googling GMOs, this man's name will pick up. He put in incredible efforts to get it to where the GMOs would not be allowed in our food chain because it's everywhere. And so the damage, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. And you just don't, if it doesn't say non-GMO in an item like soybean oil, canola oil, any of those other seed oils, vegetable oils, corn oil, you can just assume that it is packed with GMOs. Now, the thing is you're not going to feel any different from having it now, but the difference could be mounting. It could be layering inside of you. And what it is that they get in there, and GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. And there's no regulation. Obama got in there and messed with it. And so it stopped them allowing, or it stopped, I'm sorry, I can't do two things at the same time, can I? So anyway, some change happened during Obama's administration. And so it's pretty much like, just go away, all you people that don't want to have it, because the lobbyists, the money surrounding it and Monsanto is so big and so powerful. When you think of all the crops that are genetically modified, it's hideous. Here's just a couple little fun facts, okay? Geese that land annually on an Illinois pond and habitually feed on an adjacent 50-acre soybean farm wouldn't go near the Roundup Ready GM soybeans newly planted on half of the field. They continued to eat the conventional soybeans on the other half. How do they know this stuff, right? Cows in Iowa refused to eat from a trough containing genetically modified BT corn, opting for one containing corn that hadn't been genetically engineered. I mean, doesn't that phrase just kind of like alarm you? It should. Genetically engineered, and you're putting that in your body. Or maybe you were like me and putting it in your body so much with all the different things that yeah. And one thing I read on the danger of canola oil, which in itself is pretty scary, is that it's everywhere, and if you're buying it in the United States, it's all GMOs. So that nice little container of Wesson that's on sale, or the big jugs at Costco, don't be buying them. Don't. You want extra virgin olive oil, macadamia nut oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, flaxseed oil. Those are the oils that you want. You want to just run, baby, run from all those seed oils, because they are just GMO disasters. Some cattle ignored a field of Roundup Ready corn and actually broke through a fence to get to another field of non-GMO corn. So what are these animals? What can they detect that we don't know? Now, At first they weren't going to put the GMOs in Badditives, but surprisingly enough, under U.S. law, they are technically considered food additives, ones that have never been subjected, listen to this, one that have never been subjected to any safety testing. Be very concerned about these things that slide under any USDA testing, because there's stuff going on. Now I have a word for you. This is the word that to me describes Monsanto and anybody in their corner. And that one word is nefarious, okay? And I looked up the definition of nefarious. Wicked, evil, sinful, egregious, heinous, atrocious, vile, foul, abominable, and that's not my breath in the morning, okay? That is nefarious, and that is that company. And one time I heard, it's the fun facts surrounding it, not for me the scientific, technical. I'll leave that to people like Mike at Keto Mad. And then the final part about that is flagrant breaching out of time-honored laws and traditions. Okay. Now, Vermont got something passed in 2016 where they aren't allowing any GMOs in their product in the state. And so a lot of companies had to quickly work very hard on them. Companies like Campbell's Soup, let me find the rest. Because they had to, yeah, see, there I go again. There were some companies that were getting ready to remove the GMOs, but this kind of pushed them because they didn't want to have manufacturing for one state and then the other 49 or wherever they send them over to Europe or whatever, or not Europe, loaded with the GMOs. So they actually did go about creating their products or deciding to manufacture their products without GMOs. Now, most of us are not buying Campbell's Soup anymore. Yeah, see how much sugar is in tomato soup? Yeah, we aren't buying that anymore. But, so if it doesn't say no GMOs, don't be picking it up. Now, the macadamia nut oil I have is not organic, but it doesn't have GMOs. Some things that come from other countries don't say either on the label because they're manufactured in another country. So just be aware. GMOs have been given the name Frankenfood, which I give to anything that comes processed in a box, pastas and breads and all that. It's all Frankenfood, and they hope that you don't notice it. There's no such thing as a safe genetically modified item. It's all part of an elaborate con job. Yes, it is. Just like artificial sweeteners. Yes, they are. One designed to protect the profits of both big food and the biotechnology industry at the expense of your family's health. And we often say that here, you know, doctors don't care what you eat, food producers don't care what you eat, and prescribing doctors don't care what you eat. They aren't asking you what you eat as they write out your cholesterol meds or your heart meds or your fluid pills. They don't care. So it's kind of scary. It's Jeffrey Smith from the Institute for Responsible Technology. And so glyphosate is the other half of the GMO hidden hazard equation. And if you really want to know about the technicalities and the scientific and all that, go to Scott the truck driver's video on glyphosate, and he usually puts an F-bomb in front of that word. Some people have symptoms though, and it's kind of interesting. They have headaches, dizziness, extreme stomach pains, fever, and allergies after inhaling some pollen that is shed by the corn that is GMO, genetically modified. And I can't imagine it. I do buy organic corn for Greg, frozen corn like Cascadian or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if it can it be hybridized and still be organic. I don't think so. So, um, so what they fear for down the road people with this is chronic health problems ranging from obesity and depression, okay, to a host of others like autism, inflammatory bowel disease, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. And so, I mean, doesn't eating the keto foods, isn't that kind of what we're working on preventing, as well as, you know, we're healing our bodies from the inside out, but we also want to work a little bit on preventing some chronic diseases or the Alzheimer or Parkinson's. So, so they talk about Roundup Ready, which that is going to be, it's Monsanto, and they douse things with it. And then some things that happen, here's the tragedy, is that you've got this farmer that is like industrial and commercial and Roundup Ready and glyphosate and, you know, using every Monsanto tool that they've got. And what happens is it could blow. If the wind is blowing the day that they're, you know, plain spraying all of their acres, it could blow onto the next door neighbor's crops. And what if they've been working really hard at being organic? They could get, you know, that spray on them just because of the wind. And it probably doesn't have to be much wind to do that. So that's really a sad travesty of the whole thing. So then, so they almost consider, so this is where it gets like too woo-woo for me. So I tell you, I start fading out and thinking about my dinner, to tell you the truth. So they talk about that some of these things about the GMOs they consider private property, and they won't go near. I don't know. So the rest, yeah, it's pretty technical. It's pretty scientific, and the United States is resisting having anything done about the GMOs being used anywhere. It's all in their plan. It really is, because you know that this is going to help pharma. It's going to help the food industry. It's going to help big business, big food industry, and especially Monsanto. And who are they paying off in Congress to look the other way, or to not back a bill, or to just fight and resist things? It sounds like government today anyway, doesn't it? So stay away from, as a result, by 2014, 90% of the country's field corn, soybean, canola, and cotton, the source of cottonseed oil, and sugar beet acreage had been genetically modified. So there you go. So when you are thinking of any of those products, just run. One of the things is that, then they have another thing. It's called seed servitude. This is just so hideous. It's just, maybe that's why I blank out when I'm reading it, because I get so angry. Seed servitude is you can't use the same seed again. It won't help you. It won't give you a second crop. So you have to go back to Monsanto again and get a hybridized, genetically modified seed every year. So it's not enough that they're slowly killing us and that, you know, you have to apply the Monsanto. You also have to get their seeds every single year. Here's another thing. And I could almost do a whole video on this. It's called the Dark Act. Have any of you ever heard the Dark Act? Denying Americans the right to know. Dark Act. Isn't that, it's just deplorable. So what happened was the compromised version became known as the Dark Act, and you could only find the GMO labeling on smartphone apps. I mean, it's just too weird, isn't it? So it might not say it on their label that it's got GMOs in it. But if you go onto the label on your smartphone app about foods and labels, it might have to say it there. This was in 2016 with Obama. So, here are the mainstream food companies that began to remove the GMOs. So it would be like a nationwide thing, and then they can advertise it. Okay, so it's Campbell's Soup, General Mills. You might see that on some cereal boxes, but then again, you're not going down that aisle, either am I. Mars, and Chipotle restaurant chain simply stopped using genetically modified ingredients. So, there's some real tireless people that are just so devoted to having something done with this, but they are really up against it with Monsanto. Monsanto is probably more powerful than the government in some places. But it says here in the back at the end, avoid any product containing non-organic soy, corn, and canola, which are most likely genetically modified. And then earlier in the article, of course, is 90% of the crops are. Foods and beverages, this is interesting. Foods and beverages that just say sugar on the ingredient label are likely to contain genetically modified beet sugar and not regular white cane sugar. So you can assume that unless it says cane sugar. But then again, we're not looking for cane sugar, are we, boys and girls? So go and Google it if you need and want more. I just don't get into the too technical, too scientific, as you can tell. I just like the outlandish as well stories about a lot of the Badditives, because that's going to make me, it's third rail for me. GMOs are like third rail. Okay, so aim for organic. And thank you so much for listening. This is Badditives. This has been Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Keto. Way under 10. I don't know. I'm having so few greens now. It's really under 10 and I love it. I will see you the next time. Thank you so much for watching. It's very important for me to have you here. Bye-bye for now.